Yes. We're finished talking. Yeah, there. Oh, yeah. Zooming. Zooming, no doubt. Yeah. I didn't initially.
Yeah.
I'd like to call the meeting, the audit committee, the LCTCS Board of Supervisors for December the 3rd, 2025 audit committee meeting to order. Supervisor Hogan, since you were last, could you lead us in pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Boo, can you conduct a roll call?
Yes, sir. I would be happy to. Supervisor Hall
Present.
is present. Supervisor Hogan
Present.
is present. Supervisor Moody
Here.
is present. And at this time, Vice Chair, we do have a quorum for the meeting.
Okay, thank you, thank you. For the, has been any requests at this time for the enumerated items on the agenda,
No, sir. No requests.
public comments? I'd like to ask approval of the minutes for August 13th, 2025.
Motion by Supervisor Moody, seconded by Supervisor Hogan. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like an update from Jeff Fleming at this time.
Thank you, Supervisor. It's good to see everybody. We have a lot of new faces here. I just want to introduce myself. I'm Jeff Fleming. I'm the Director of Internal Audit here at LCTCS. Me and my staff are responsible for overseeing the risk assessment for the system. And with that, we produce reports and present them to you at these audit committees 3 times a year. You also get periodic updates from me for reports that come out for outside agencies from that are related to our system. So you'll be hearing from me a lot, sometimes good news and bad news, but we're always working to improve, and that's my favorite thing to do. And I'll jump right into it. Since we last met, we've issued a few projects that I want to highlight today. The first is we've been continuing our restricted fee work. Just to give you a little background, restricted fees are the fees that our colleges charge to the students on a credit hour basis. They're enacted by legislation. So with these fees, there's some guardrails, by statute, you have to follow. So it's not just general fund money. You have to follow the guidelines outlined in the law. My office, we view this as an area of risk because, sometimes it's just, there might be something you're unaware of that you have to follow, or some of these can be a little strenuous to keep on track. So we've been doing these. I think this is our fourth college that we've gone to. This September, we went to Northwest Louisiana Technical College, and we found 2 areas of improvement that I think the college could benefit from. One was, on the tech fee, which is one of these restricted fees, it requires that the students provide input on the plan, whatever your tech fee plan is. If it's to build a new computer lab, there needs to be student representation saying, hey, yes, we agree that would be a good use of these tech fee dollars. The college needed to improve their plan to show that student representation is occurring. Not saying it wasn't occurring, but you need to formalize these processes. So let's say a legislative auditor were to come in and you could show them, hey, look, yes, we had, these 3 students are on our tech fee committee. They contributed and we're compliant with the law. Because this is an issue we've seen at a few of our colleges, that formalization It's not enough to say, oh yeah, there was a student there. I remember, I can't remember their name, show that we are complying with the law. Also, with that committee, the college, I felt could have improved upon the detail they were providing. So it's not enough to say we're going to spend $50,000 on computers. What is it for? How does it benefit the college? How does it benefit the student? I thought, improving that detail would increase the transparency, but also be compliant with the law that asks for that detail. They want line items. They don't just want generalities when these plans are being approved. But other than that, everything was good. Again, I look at these as areas of improvement. These aren't findings per se, but it does show the benefit of going to do these restricted fee reviews because, again, the colleges sometimes aren't even aware of these things that are required by law. Chancellor's here. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Great, you said it very well. I want to thank Jeff and his department for the review that they gave us. All of that is, we're continuously looking to improve. Those were areas that we certainly always need help in. And like you said, sometimes you're not aware of some of those things. And so we certainly appreciated that, and we have rectified that and working to, as our student government grows, including those students. So thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor. We did another restricted fee review at River Parishes Community College. We found one little issue, and this was a calculation error. So for the academic excellence and building use fee, we had an overcharge of $12,000 in the academic excellence and $9,700 for the building use. Before we even issued this report, the college was already proactive in getting this money back to the students. This is on a per student basis. This is a very small number. Chancellor, did y'all ultimately decide what?
Yes, so we refunded those students.
Okay, so the students have been refunded. It's water under the bridge, I say. And it had to do with the hybrid students, right? Yeah, it was a calculation. It was, there's a different calculation for students who are online and students who are in person and for hybrid. And it was just a miscalculation for the hybrid students. We caught it when we did our review. It's been fixed. And also the control issue that caused the miscalculation has been fixed. So again, no lingering issues there, and it's already been corrected, which I like to see. I attempt to, before we issue any of our reports, I don't like leaving things just as, hey, you've done this wrong and, see you next year. I like to take it at least to a point where we have the corrective action plan is already in order. Legislative auditor, you give them your corrective action plan and they come back and review it the next year. Well, I like to take it, let's see if we can, before we even issue this, the issue has been completely cleared. That way I don't have to come back and look at it another time. Selfish reasons. So those are the only restricted fee reviews. Like I said, we're going to go to every college. So the next time we meet, I'll probably have one or two more for you. Another switching gears, I do a purchase card review every quarter. For a little background for our new members, our colleges use travel and purchase cards to make small, if somebody needs to go run to Lowe's and get a bucket of paint, they'll use the purchase card. It's a better control than having petty cash or waiting for somebody to cut a check. For the travel, it's easier to book your hotel on the college's travel card rather than do the reimbursement process. It just eliminates a lot of paperwork and a lot of manpower. But with having these cards, there's some responsibility. Obviously, there's red tape and it's tedious. I don't view this as a high risk area, but the Division of Administration requires us to review our colleges at least every 3 years. They do their own reviews, but they also ask internal audit to do that. And when we first started using these cards, there was, I'll call it a bit of a learning process. Like I said, there's a lot of red tape. And when I would present you these reports, there would be a good amount of findings. But I think at this time, we went to Nunez, no findings. I think this is the fourth or fifth in a row where we've had no findings. So as you can see, as our colleges have gotten used to working in these systems, they're returning back these reviews that have no issues, which is great to see. I think when we had these struggles, that I guess some people viewed it that way, it was more of just learning, getting all the documentation uploaded into these systems rather than having it somewhere else on a different computer.
And Jeff, on those systems, they're state systems. All
Right.
This is a state card, and just to give some context, it's not like these colleges have a lot of cards floating around. Universities might, we don't. I mean, our office has two. A college might have one or two, and it's under guard, lock and key until it needs to be used.
Like I said, I view this as a very low risk area. Not only are there very few cards, well, on the travel card, there's not even a physical card. It's just a CBA. And the cards have limits on them. Like even if somebody were to grab the card and run off with it, it would immediately, if you try to put, I think, more than $2,500 on it at one shot, it'll decline. And also the system that they use is with Bank of America. And so any questionable transaction will get flagged as well. So in the few times that I've been director, I think we've had one or two colleges that before we even got to the college, they had already caught a few instances of fraud. Because that Bank of America system is very strict. It's not allowing just the willy-nilly purchasing. And between our reviews and the Division of Administration reviews, again, low risk area, but I don't want to be responsible. But our colleges will get written up saying LCTCS internal audit has not reviewed your card program. And I'm not going to be responsible for one of our colleges have to answer to an outside agency's finding. So we get them done. And like I said, I have it on try to do it once a quarter. It's a good pace for us. Anyway, any questions about the cards? As I said, I usually have at least one card review every one of these meetings. Anything? All right, last for the projects we completed since we last met is continuing our disaster recovery work. This time we went to North Shore Technical Community College. We've been trying to knock out the colleges first that are south of I-10. Not that disaster recovery is less of an issue at any of our North Louisiana friends, but the hurricane threat, I think, puts the ones in the south at a little bit greater risk as far as frequency. North Shore, they're doing a great job. Again, same message I've had at all of our colleges. I don't view this isn't a gotcha type of review. I mean, you could go to a multi-billion-dollar enterprise and do a disaster recovery review, and you're going to come back with findings because you have to accept some level of risk in this. You can't be 100%. And our colleges, I tell them it's a maturity process. You know, we're just coming along, and during the steps that you're taking to improve upon this. Technology is changing, and a lot of disaster recovery now is technology driven. It's not about going to see if the windowsill is completely sealed or there's a loose shingle. It's about, hey, from an IT perspective, what are you going to do if operations can't continue at your college? And some of the takeaways are similar that we see at all of our colleges. Same with North Shore. Improving the business impact analysis. A lot of what we want to do, we want to jump right to disaster recovery, but it's important to focus the business impact analysis. Okay, what would happen if we didn't have access to our server? You need to establish those things and then put together your plan, because your plan can directly address your business impact analysis. So we recommended, hey, work on your business impact analysis a little more, flesh that out, and then that'll trickle down to your disaster recovery. Another thing we're seeing, I think we've had this at everywhere we went, improve the call tree. People should know who they should call in these disaster scenarios. It should be clear. who's responsible for what area, who to call. These are the people you call. We provided them with a disaster recovery call tree template. So you can start filling these things in, and it kind of, you can take your directory and in an afternoon, you could knock out something like this. But again, you know, I kind of go back to the restricted fee stuff. It's not enough to just know who you're supposed to call, like formalize these things, have them documented, and that way everybody's on the same page. And another thing, again, that I see everywhere is test your plans. You don't have to shut off the main breaker or, you know, flood the hallway. Just do a tabletop exercise and go through your plan, and in doing so, just like the business impact analysis, you can see your weak areas. You can identify them, and it'll give you a better idea. Okay, we're sufficient here, but maybe we need to spend a little more time on that, and include, you know, all the key players in the college. Now, you could take one day during your orientation time, and, you know, have the key decision makers at your college go through these plans, and it'll identify where you're strong and where you're weak. And again, that's something I've recommended everywhere we've gone. I think we'll probably see that everywhere, because I know it's not fun to deal with these things. Everybody's busy, but I think devoting just a little time on the testing and could make more improvements to their plan than we could ever offer. That's as far as projects completed. Do we have any questions about disaster recovery or restricted fees, cards, Jen?
Yeah, just on disaster recovery, to give new and even existing members a little primer. We have tried to, at a systemic level for years, bolster the technology and infrastructure as much as possible. So as a case in point, the accounting systems, student systems, and HR systems are all held in Amazon Web Services offsite, and everybody can access those remotely. But the issue becomes really person dependent. When a hurricane hits, and, you know, as Fletcher experienced and Sewell experienced years ago, when a hurricane hits, it not only hits that college, it hits the whole community. Everybody gets dispersed, and then it's a matter of where's so-and-so and how do they have access to the internet? Can they get access to the internet? Much less even in terms of the impact of the students themselves. But structurally, technology-wise, we've bolstered everything as much as we can, but there are a lot of things that are still person dependent that people have to work through and plan for.
Yep. Well said. So that's everything we've completed since we last met in August. We do have a couple of projects in progress. One is Delgado disaster recovery. That's the hay is almost in the barn with that one. They've done a great job. We can get into the details in April when I present that completed project, but they're I would say best in class so far, which you would hope and expect given where they're located. And also we'll also have their next due on the purchase card, travel card. We don't have a lot of, I always try to structure the year where when we finish this meeting, we can take care of a lot of administrative stuff. I deal with all the ethics reporting for the system. We have some internal things that we like to do to close out the year. So I usually try to get as many projects done before we break for Christmas. And then when we come back in the new year, we can kind of have a fresh slate. So we don't really have a lot of projects in progress right now. That kind of rolls into, I'll go to G.
You're checking who's naughty and who's nice. That's right.
That's right. Yeah, I'll just say now.
Get on top of that. Be done by the 23rd.
If you haven't done your ethics training for the year, please do so. They are checking the naughty and nice list at the ethics board. So
Grinches, every one of them, Grinches.
Yeah.
Roll into G.
Yeah. So the next item is the audit plan progress report.
Wait, before you, let me ask a question before you get off. So and I guess maybe for the chancellors in the room. So the travel and purchase cards, I think a second level of that is making sure we have proper controls about who has access to that and who uses it, because that is absolutely a right opportunity for somebody to make a bad decision.
Yes.
Right. And certainly we've seen that. We've all probably seen that in different organizations over there. That somebody holding one of them cards will go to Walmart tomorrow and buy a flat screen with it. Right. So
right.
Y'all need to make sure you have appropriate local control over it.
And that's a good point, because the reason why Division of Administration pushes this so hard to get this done, the monetary risk is low, but the reputational risk is high. You know, as the supervisor said, I mean, if somebody goes and buys, and that's where it all started. There was another state agency where, I hate to say it, but it was the director of internal audit had gotten his subordinate's card. And so and used in spending it. So he was then being able to approve it because he was the approval person. And I think he bought Saints tickets and Christmas gifts. And, yeah, and it made the paper. It made the paper, and that's why we're doing a review every quarter.
Yeah.
Very easy.
Right.
Very easy.
And I noticed early on when our colleges had trouble, the colleges with more cards, now it wasn't fraud related, but the more cards you have, the more issues you're gonna have. So I always recommend, it's like, hey, you know, I understand it's convenient for every dean to have a card and that way they can just give it to somebody, but your risk is higher there. You have more people who don't know what they're doing. You have more people who might be rationalized and making a bad decision. So when you see the colleges that have one or two of them, you rarely have issues. When the colleges have 5 or 6 of them, you might have and again, it's a paperwork issue. You know, they didn't get an itemized receipt or something. So I always recommend less cards. Rolling into audit plan progress report. This was something, when we had our QAR done a couple of years ago, one of the and that's our review. You know, the auditors get audited once every 5 years to make sure we're following the standards, upholding integrity. One of the recommendations they had is said, once a year, why don't you update the committee on where you are in your audit plans? We just kind of roll, here's what we've done, here's what we're doing. And so, like I said, I really try to structure the year where at the end of the calendar year, we kind of have a clean slate and we can hit the ground running when we come back. So we've already completed 3 of our 6 projects for the year. So we'll have the spring to complete the other 3, which are we're doing some work at Fletcher for the faculty overload. We're going to do some analysis there, give them feedback, you know, kind of another set of eyes on making these decisions between full-time and part-time faculty. I really think that's gonna, I'm excited about it because it's not your traditional audit report, but it's what I think internal audit should be, is assisting the colleges in their mission. And I think that's gonna lend us a lot of great information that we can then apply to other colleges. Another project we're going to do is we're going to do a financial aid award analysis. And the fear that some folks have is, you know, you can go to BRCC, Delgado, and SLCC, RIPSI, fill out a FAFSA for your financial aid, schedule the same amount of hours, and you get a different number for your financial aid award package. I'm not saying that's happening, but I'm saying we're going to look at it and ensure that there's systems in place, the controls in place, that we're not totally dependent on that person who's helping you in that financial aid office. We should have a system where it's going to return that same financial aid award amount. And again, that'll be more of an analysis on numbers. And then we could dive deeper into the reasons why. But again, it's not your traditional audit report, but I think it's going to be tremendous to be able to say, you know, yes, this is an issue, let's look into it, or no, hey, here are the numbers, this is where we stand. Excited about that one. And then we'll also do the financial aid award, financial aid review. I know I say financial aid a lot, we spend a lot of time on it, but it really is the lifeblood of our colleges. Without it, we wouldn't exist. So what we do is, traditionally, what we took the top 10 findings the feds have every year. We go to the college and do a review on those findings. And we see if there's any areas of improvement. So we're going to change it up this year. So rather than go to one college and do the 10, we're going to pick one of the 10 and do it at all the colleges. So let's say if it's satisfactory in academic progress, which is if a student gets into lack of a better term, bad grades, and they have to which disqualifies them for financial aid, and we put them into a improvement plan. Are we following the letter of the law from the Department of Ed, making sure we're meeting the requirements to get back on track? That's just one example. I'm not saying we're going to do satisfactory academic progress. Obviously didn't pick it because it's easy to say. But that's just one example. So it'll give us, rather than go to one college, we're going to go to all colleges, but just not go to depth. But it gives us more coverage, and I like being able to go to every college every year. It's really difficult with the resources that I have, but I think this is going to be a way to do so. So those are the three we have in the spring. You'll be getting reports on those at the audit committee meetings next year. We'll report back. There's always things that pop up. I might get a call for some help, and it piques my interest, and we'll put it in there. But like I said, based on the feedback we got from when we had our review, I'll report those to you. And sometimes even prior to the meeting if it's a hot button issue. That's all I have for the work we're doing. Does anybody have any questions about any issues I brought up? And like I say, you can call me at any time, email me. That's what I'm here for. And like I said, anything that needs addressing before we meet once every quarter, I'll give you a call. But if I'll throw it back to you.
Thank you. No questions, comments? I'll bring, we're moving on to H, the legislative audit report. Joe Moran.
Yes, sir. So as is done every year, there's legislative audit reports that are done based on the prior year AFRs that are submitted normally in September. Work actually starts before that. The auditors are working actually all year round. They never leave, which is fine. We have a great relationship with them. There was one audit finding issued related to Fletcher's accounts payable. The way it's written to me is sounds horrible, but it's not. And I wanted to give some perspective. It references control over accounts payable, right? So when you see that, you think, oh my gosh, you know, what's going on? Headlines, newspaper headlines, and so forth. And it was primarily related to, I believe, two issues. One of them, there was a process that was done early on. All colleges do it, related to what they call compensated absences. And compensated absences are basically, it's a paper entry you put in your accounting system to say, if the college had to shut down, a meteor hit, a hurricane hit, we had to shut down, people had to be let go. We're obligated by law to pay people their leave, sick leave and annual leave, vacation leave. And what normally gets done, an entry gets put in early in the year, and at the end of the year, it's reversed. And then the following year, it's done again, so forth. It continues on down that path. What happened at Fletcher, though, there was a transfer or lack of transfer of knowledge on this one process from the prior CFO to the new administration. So what was happening is the staff were entering a journal entry into the accounting system for that compensated absence number, which was roughly about $250,000 to $300,000, and not reversing it at the end of the year. And then the next year would come, and they thought the accounting system would automatically back it out, which was a mistake, an error. And so this accumulated over a 5-year period, time after time after time, so that the number on the books was reflecting this paper liability of $1.3 million, which interestingly enough was to the benefit of the college because it's really an obligation that they never really had to begin with. So it was a paper entry. I'm not minimizing it for this, but in essence, the books were off by that amount, and they corrected that once it was found, and they realized what processes they need to do going forward to keep that correction going. The other one, and Chancellor, I may need your help on this case, had to do with about a $10,000, $11,000 payable, I believe, from the college.
Yeah, we involved that
Yes.
single item. I mean, so just a cautionary tale. I mean, hopefully, I guess we'll share this with the other schools to make sure, and we do have transition for people of time to make sure this is
Right.
not, this is just a
Right. And it happens all the time.
Lesson learned type of deal.
Correct. And it goes back to kind of the Jeff's review of the tech fee. It's in statute. If you look at it, it seems pretty black and white, but in the meantime, you do have staff turnover occurring over time.
Yeah, right.
And you need that education process. It's an ongoing thing.
One of the things that we're trying to do is get better at documenting all of these policies and procedures so that when there are transitions in whether it's leadership or in just, frontline positions, that individuals have those things documented so that it's not hoping that knowledge transfer happens. Because sometimes people leave organizations suddenly and there isn't that ability to transition. So we are trying to do a much better job at making sure we get those things documented so that when we do have transitions in staff, that we don't miss a beat on the go forward.
And in this case, it's one transaction that dealt with $250,000. The number behind it is kind of big, so it kind of, grew quickly. But it's just one transaction that wasn't being done. The $10,000 or $11,000 payment, I believe, had to do between the college and the foundation.
Correct.
Trying to think
So
back, maybe
there were two
elaborate.
things with that one. Specifically, there was, when we did the transfer of South Central Louisiana Technical College, the Thibodeau campus over to Fletcher, there were some student activity dollars that were moved over that needed to be, the foundation took them, but the college was supposed to have reimbursed the foundation for those transitional dollars, and that did not occur. These were all internal. The second one was a purchase of some equipment for our line worker program. When we initially started that program, we did not want to have students bear the expense. So our foundation purchased the equipment and then we rented it back to the college that was then utilized for the students. The college was to reimburse the foundation at some point for that, and that reimbursement didn't happen. So these were two sort of internal transfer invoices that it was an oversight, quite honestly. We had closed out everything else from SCL in that transition. And along with the line worker, these were just two outstanding ones that were brought to our attention. The funds have been transferred. The appropriate protocols are now in place to make sure that that doesn't happen on the go forward. So the total amount was just over 10,000.
Yeah, and I believe that was the only one we had. We are currently undergoing our system audit, which should be issued in the next few weeks. All indications are is that it will be a clean audit, barring something coming up. But as of right now, everything looks very, very good. I do want to add that there has been a lot of focus and interest statewide on the financial health of colleges and universities. And I'm glad to report that all our colleges are financially healthy. Even though, as I saw on a report at the Board of Regents, 2-year schools in Louisiana compared to their peers are the least funded. I'm fairly certain to say that we are financially very, very strong. We've been doing cash flow analysis for the last 10 years of all our colleges. We have a fiscal health index we provide our chancellors to kind of let them check what's going on. They ask questions. Cash flow deposits and rhythms over time for now 5 or 6 years. So we can actually compare ourselves over time. And recently we've developed a dashboard that our chancellors have access to. It's real time, that they can go into Banner, the accounting system. They don't have to be accountants. They just log in like they would normally to do their timesheet or otherwise, and they can come up and show them what their enrollments look like, what they've received in terms of tuition, what's been secured, and compare that to last year. Again, just little steps taking in place to not only inform people, but to allow them to make informed either decisions or ask informed questions of their staffs. Hey, what does this mean? Dashboards, I like dashboards not to inform, I like dashboards to ask questions. And that's what they normally do. They're not meant to solve and answer all your questions because that's all they are, the dashboard. So again, happy to report that all our colleges are financially stable. Not to say that we wouldn't be, subject to some drastic turns in the state budget or the state economy, things of that nature. But as of the end of this last year and now, we're in good financial shape.
Question. Any questions, comments?
I think we have a lot to be proud of. With our chancellors, the leadership that's here, is a lot to be proud of. And what finances.
Ms. Poole, any requests for public comment?
We do not have any.
No further business. I'd like someone to make a motion for joining. Maybe. We're going here.